Another day, another FPL pod. Jack, how are you doing?
Joshua, I'm really well, thank you. Yep, another good weekend, another high-scoring week across the board, exciting football. Bit sad there's no Monday night game, but of course that means we can reflect wholly on the game week. We're not sort of in the middle of a game week and waiting for that game to finish. So yeah, very pleased. How are you doing?
Oh, I mean, as a Liverpool fan, I'm doing very well, thank you. I'm doing very, very well after the weekend. So not so much, mixed in terms of FPL, but who cares about that when Liverpool do so well against United? So yes.
Yeah, it was a great game. It was a great game to watch. As you know, I've made vocal my bias against Man United on here as a jaded Brummie. It was great to watch. Great to see them capitulate. As a Salah captainer, like you said, a really good way to end the game week. So, Josh, what's our running order? What have we got for the listeners today?
Well, we're going to follow the kind of same template that we have done. So we're going to start by reviewing our game week, looking at the XI, XI tables. Then we've got some quickfire questions. That's new. And then we've targeted some new fixtures for our fixture predictions, and then our plans, and then a look at the Algo Teams to finish.
Sounds great. Jam-packed. Let's get into it, shall we?
Let's indeed. So I think I've been starting the last couple of game weeks, Jack. So over to you. How did you do?
All right. Okay. We'll take it from the top. Well, it's a rare week that I've done pretty well again, I would say, Josh. Ended on 83 points for the week, which I was pretty pleased with. Well, it was a -4, so I actually ended on 87, minus the 4, so I count it as 83. And pretty pleased considering my -4 hit was a disaster, Joshua. Was not a good look for me.
Oh, no.
So you might recall I painstakingly outlined my 3-game week transfer plan to you last week, which involved, I can't even remember it. It was when Lukaku was still fit. So it involved moving out Reguilon to somebody, Jota to someone else, and Lukaku down to someone. That all blew up when Lukaku got injured. And I realized that I had the exact money to go Lukaku and Jota to Kane and Mane. So get 2 premiums in effectively for the price of 1. And as we know, it didn't go well, man. Didn't all go well. Mane didn't start out of nowhere. That was a real shocker for me. And Kane was probably a bad move. Looking back on it, it was a bad move. That was just me seeing I was rich. I saw all my riches around me swimming in money and thought I could afford Kane. I'll buy a Kane, when it's probably a bad idea to do it. So, but as I say, despite those 2 being massive disappointments and kinds of thorns in my side already, the Salah captaincy, thank God that happened for the 48 points. Antonio, Livramento and Trent really putting in all the legwork for my team. The rest were a disappointment. And Buemo, Rafinha, Kane, Mane, obviously, and Reguilon not really doing it. Although I'd say my man of the match this week, my favourite player this week was Sanchez in goal, despite conceding 4, getting the 4 points with the save points and the bonus. That is a dream. When your goalie, that's like Martinez-esque, isn't it? Where they get battered, but they still pull it out the bag with a cheeky bonus, a goalie. That was nice to see. So a green arrow, a couple of 100,000 places, which I'll take all day long. Sitting at a cool 1.6 mil. So not where I want to be at all, but 2 good game weeks in a row. So there we go. How about you?
Yeah, was panic stations earlier in the week, especially after that City game when Ederson gave away the penalty, which wiped my Cancelo and Diaz clean sheets. But thankfully, Salah worked his magic, and that brought me to 79 points overall, which is not too bad, over the average, small red arrow. So I'm kind of at 880,000 overall rank. So again, kind of last few game weeks kind of moving slightly in the wrong direction, but we both know at this stage you just have to kind of tie together a few good results, few game weeks, and you can still rocket up the ranks. So that weird sensation where you're kind of happy with a lot of the players on paper, but they're not really returning the points. So Antonio, thankfully with the goal, returned, but blanks from Tony, Vardy, Rafinha, Sarr, Diaz and Cancelo. Cancelo and Vardy both on the 1 points. Vardy coming off at half time. Ramsdale with 3 points, just for the 1 extra point for the save points. And then, Livramento doing the biz as well, and the Salah captaincy bringing it in. But yeah, just some fires to put out, but generally Salah saved the game week.
He did for many of us, didn't he? I think, again, you're unlucky again. 79 points and a red arrow. I mean, surely you'd have taken 79 points before the week kicked off. I mean, that's in isolation, that's a huge score, isn't it? But it was a weird week, wasn't it? I wish that Lukaku injury hadn't happened, not just because of my transfer, but because so many people, I think, would have captained him against Norwich. And of course, he might have done well against Norwich, but it just would have meant far less people on that Salah captaincy that you and I were both set on, I think, after last week, weren't we? So
for sure.
Weird
and
week.
I think still, because it was United, maybe he didn't get quite as many captaincy shouts as he maybe should have done. But there was still obviously a high number of managers going for it, wasn't there? But rightfully so.
Yeah. So a weird week, wasn't it? It was looking like a really low scoring week before that last game, which is just goes to show, not over till fat lady sings.
Exactly. Always got to keep your eye on the prize. But yeah, that's game week 9. Our points. Shall we kick on over to these XG and XA charts?
Yeah, sounds good, man.
So what we're doing this week is we're taking the format which we're going to pick the top 3 XG and XA from the last 5 game weeks. So we've lengthened it out to 5 game weeks, but we're just going to take the top 3 and focus on them. So we're going to start with the XG tables as we have done in the past. Sitting in number 3, Jamie Vardy, Jack, with 2.82. Within that, 5 goals. So incredibly overperforming. What are your thoughts on Jamie? I know he's come off at half time. I think they're saying it's a precaution. We'll obviously have to wait and see. But say he was to come back and play a part this weekend, going forward, do you want him? Are you interested in him?
I am interested in him. Yeah, it is a worry, the knee thing. I think he said he felt it in the warm-up, but Rodgers played him anyway. And then he felt he had to come off at half time. So I think that is a bit of a worry. And they're not as reliant on him as they used to be, with Daka doing well and Iheanacho obviously starting games now. So it would have been quite a nice move for me to go from Kane to him to free up some funds to help me out elsewhere. But now that knock's happened, it's a bit dicey. I mean, obviously wait for news if you're thinking about getting him in, but it's quite ominous. I would say someone at his age picking up an injury like that is worrying to me. So I know a lot of people transferred him in this week ahead of when Lukaku got injured. He was a really popular transfer in, wasn't he? So yeah, I'm not feeling that great. What are Leicester's fixtures saying? How are they looking?
Not amazing. They've got Arsenal, Leeds, and Chelsea in the next 3, and then Watford and Southampton after that.
Yeah, not terrible, not amazing, I would say. Yeah, but I'm just not. He's no longer on my radar unless I can't really see Rodgers coming out this week and saying he's 100% fit and ready to start. Because even if he's 100% fit, they still might rest him for Daka. So yeah, that's my. How do you think you're tempted by Jamie?
Underlying stats great, goal returns great, but the risk of his play, like if he's gonna be watching minutes because of this knee injury, they didn't play him midweek. I don't think they did. They rested him. They played Daka and Iheanacho up top. So they're trying to protect him as best they can. That tells you everything alone there, doesn't it? Like, and you add in a knock or a doubt. I think in the short term, we just have to think he's too much of a risk. I own him. I did that classic Lukaku Vardy switch. Just the underlying stats look too good for me.
Did.
And obviously he's a player has good value, so you can switch back to Lukaku because we don't know exactly how long he's going to be out. So, but yeah, now obviously having to have a problem now. He is a fire to put out in the team.
Yeah, see, I don't know if he's a fire, man. I'd say wait, it's a potential fire. It's a box, and you don't know if there's a fire in it or not. It's Schrodinger's fire. You've got to wait and see if what Rogers says. Have they got a League Cup game this week?
Not sure. I mean,
No.
the news from them so far is it's precautionary, isn't it? But
Yeah, very unlucky for people that brought him in there. But there we are. Yeah. Anyway, who's next on the list, Joshua?
It's Michael Antonio. So
Back in the goals.
out of this kind of snapshot of 5 games, he only actually played 4 of them. So he has less minutes, we should say. 2 goal returns and a 2.84 XG. So unlike Vardy, slightly kind of underperforming there. But I think I'm right in saying we both own him. And I think I'm going to assume that we're both going to say we're both quite happy with him.
Yeah, I was growing a little annoyed with him. I was getting a little annoyed with him because of this underperformance, really. I mean, it was always promising when the stats still stay good, but they're underperforming. You think, okay, it's just maybe there is more luck. He's not just playing awful. But yeah, he's been a bit quiet lately with just the 2 goals and no assists. But yeah, he took his goal well, kind of. It was maybe a bit lucky. Right place, right time off that corner. And came in with some bonus points as well. I mean, he's nowhere near the state of the strikers at the moment. He's probably still the best option, isn't he?
Given his price point.
Yeah, we say every week he acts like a premium. And West Ham are still good, aren't they, as a team? They're still looking. It's a great win against Spurs, really. I know Spurs aren't what they were quite, but it's still a London derby, a great win, a fixture they typically lose in years gone by. So yeah, really, yeah, you got to keep him, man. Not much more to say. Bring him in if you're worried about Vardy and you don't have him. He's a great choice because he frees up funds as well.
Yeah, mixed. The only one of the concerns, I guess, is mixed games coming forward, like Villa, Liverpool, Wolves, City, then Brighton.
Not the best.
Not the best, but West Ham are a good team. You would be a little bit worried that their like attacking sword will be blunted a little bit by some of those teams, City and Liverpool, notably.
Yeah, I think Villa they'll dispatch Villa for sure.
Oh, Jack.
But
not
yeah,
back in the boys.
No, I'm disappointed with them. Yeah, you're right. Not the best fixtures. But where are you going? Where are you moving him to? There's not many.
Exactly.
It's amazing how quickly it changes, isn't it? Like start of the season, do you remember there were so many choices and you couldn't have them all. It was like DCL, Bamford, Ings, and now they're all off the map.
It's the age of the differential now.
But yeah, there's Antonio.
And then the number 1 spot, if anyone's going to be surprised by this, Mohamed Salah.
Yeah.
4.71 XG over the last 5 games, 7 goals scored, 3 assists to boot. Anything that you want to say that we haven't already said about Mohamed Salah?
Well, I would say that I actually feel a bit bad for the people that went for a sort of non-salary punty this year. Like a friend of mine's done it. And I messaged him after the game saying, look, dude, you've just got to get him in now. It's just getting silly. And he was just like, I think just right now, I've missed the boat so much. He may as well just stick with it and have fun this season because the season's gone for him. And then he was like, Jack, even you must admit that this is obscene. Like this is ridiculous. Like we haven't seen this before. And he is right, because if you look at where Salah was and the season's gone by after game week 9, he's like doubled the FPL points of his best season already. Like he's already on 100, which is insane, even compared to his crazy high standards. So you have been unlucky if you've looked at Salah and thought, oh, maybe I'll just, take a gamble. It's still a dumb move, really, probability wise, but I think you've probably been overly punished, even if you have done that in relation to what we expected would happen. Yeah, if you're still pushing for rank this year, you have to get him in and captain him most weeks. Like you just have to. There's no other clever play where you can avoid him. I don't think anymore.
Especially now, as you said, because of those lack of other big boy premium template options. so often will he be captained by such a large number that already own him. So you're going to get punished big time when he does return inevitably, if you don't have him.
Yeah, you really are. I mean, I understand that it's boring. Like, it is boring when there's just such an obvious captain for everybody to have. But I would say things do change fast. One injury changes it all. A bit of rotation changes it all. And of course, the African Cup of Nations, when that comes along, he's gone for a month or so. So then it'll get interesting again. So it's getting cold. The weather's getting cold. We all want to just hunker down, safe, nest, bring Salah into your nest, stay safe for the winter, and then let's have some fun when the African Cup of Nations comes around.
Comfort Salah.
Then take your comfort blanket, Salah.
Done. Yeah, we said even more than before. So that's it for XG, the top threes. Now over to XA.
Yeah.
In third spot, Yuri Tielemans, 1.82 in the XG. He's actually had 2 assists, and he's actually popped up with 2 goals as well. Are you interested in a Yuri Tielemans?
For some reason, I'm not still. He's always, for me, been one of those players who I haven't been interested in. Very good player, football. If I managed a real football team, I'd love to have him in. I think he could play in any team. I think he's got that talent. But from an FPL perspective, both his goals have been beauties, haven't they? They've been, I think, was it a screamer this week and that lovely sort of chip to the back post last week against United? They're low value. I mean, 0.44 XG says it all really for him there, and scored 2 goals from that. His XA is good. His XA is fine, but I don't think you can live and die by XA alone. You need the good XG to go with it. XA is very much a complementary stat to the XG, I think, in FPL. So when it comes to attacking players. So yeah, I'm not interested. And I'm not convinced by Leicester yet fully as a team either, as well as exciting as they are. I don't think they're quite ticking how Rodgers would want them to just yet. Yeah, that's my view. What do you think? Are you tempted? Am I wrong to be skeptical?
I think he's in a rich vein of form. So I can see why managers want to jump on, like FPL managers want to jump on that rich vein of form, because you could say that of any kind of, differential player or, non-premium that you want to bring in when they're on form and then take out and swap them up for someone else. I mean, I don't think anyone will doubt that he's in crazy form at the moment. He's playing incredibly well. As you said, his goals are unbelievable finishes. That's shown against like the XG being so low. Leicester-wise, that point still stands. In the Brentford game, they won 2-1, but their XG was lower than Brentford's. And actually, Brentford had more shots than them, less shots on target, but 15 shots total for Brentford, 10 shots for Leicester. I know it doesn't say the whole story, but Brentford were well in that game. So Leicester, didn't dominate them. And I think it comes down to that type of player, isn't it? That you're going to be comparing Tielemans to maybe more attacking focused players from other teams at that kind of, was he 6.4 mil, 6.4, 6.5 area. So there's a lot of players that have maybe a higher ceiling for FPL points than him.
Yeah. How much is he? In FPL?
I thought he was coming in at 6.4.
Yeah, decent. I mean, if Rafinha is injured this week and you're looking and you haven't got any budget and you need a player, then maybe in the under 6.4 bracket, I mean, he's competing with the Townsends, Benramas. So, yeah, I mean, compare those 2 players with him then, Josh. Would you go Townsend and Benrahma? Have you still got Benrahma?
I currently do have Benrahma.
Yeah. Who would you rather have out of Benrahma, Townsend, Tielemans and Gray, say?
The funny thing is, probably at the moment, I've been looking at probably getting Benrahma out, just purely because when I've seen him play recently, he's just, and what West Ham generally, I think, are lacking that kind of that magic touch that they had before, kind of extra touch passes going awry a little bit. Everyone's lacking a bit of confidence. So I think that ship has sailed a little bit at the moment for West Ham.
Blanked in the last 4, hasn't he, Benrahma?
Yeah, that crazy form. I think that the team's dropped a little bit, and therefore, you can look elsewhere from him. So I do like the look of Gray, but I'm just a bit wary of these players coming in. Richarlison's back now. I think it's going to affect their dynamic, and they didn't have a great result obviously this week as well. So
the wheels fell off there, didn't they, in that game for them?
No, exactly. But I think people like, Smith Rowe and Townsend as well, over the course of the season, I think are going to score more points than someone like Tielemans. I would take a Townsend or a Smith Rowe or someone like that going forward over him.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I didn't even think about Smith Rowe. Yeah.
Who's cheaper than him? He's a mil cheaper than him.
Yeah, fair summary. Who, Josh, is next on the XA charts in second spot?
Bit surprising. It's Bruno Fernandes. 2.02 XA, and you mentioned the importance of having XG as well for these type of players. 1.17 XG, 2 assists in the last 5, 0 goals. I can probably expand this question. Do you want Bruno? Do you want any United assets?
They're in the ultimate point of avoid, aren't they, after that performance? The players themselves will be down, and there's the question mark over is Ole going to go or not. By the time we publish this, he might have gone. Who knows? But if I was to have any Man U player, it would be Bruno, I think. He's, like we said last week, he's still the main man, despite Ronaldo being there. I think watching it, he's still the one trying to make things happen. Even against Liverpool, I thought he was probably their best attacking player. He had some nice flicks and touches. He was trying to make stuff happen, but just got completely cut out of the game by the brilliant Liverpool midfield. And yeah, I mean, don't get him. Don't get him in.
It's too much risk for the value. You can bring in so many other better prospects, can't you, for cheaper?
No doubt about it. Yeah,
that was a quick one. Good.
That was good. See you later, Bruno. Goodbye.
And then number 1 spot, he seems to have had it locked for weeks.
He does.
Every time we've done these reviews, it's still Brentford's Ivan Toney, 2.49 XA. Again, the 1.27 XG as well. 1 goal, 2 assists in the last 5. I mean, his fixtures look great as well. I know you've kind of been looking to get him in. Is that still the case?
I say it every week, and I want him in. He's high on my list, and every week goes by and I don't have him in. But I've kind of gotten away with it because he hasn't, despite these brilliant underlying statistics, he hasn't actually come up with the points as he's really, since that haul against Wolves. And did he get an assist against Liverpool? Yeah, he hasn't quite done it. I mean, he's played Chelsea and West Ham, 2 very tough fixtures, and he could have had something in both of them, definitely. So now the fixtures are turning. I'm very tempted. I just stupidly got caught by, I could avoid Harry Kane, so I'll get Harry Kane in. So yeah, I'm on that. It's a decision now. Do I drop Kane and get him, or do I maybe get him in for my Dennis and take a hit and to get rid of Rafinha? Maybe, I don't know. We'll come on to that, but I think he's still a great asset, man. Even though he hasn't delivered the last couple, and Brentford is still exciting, and yeah, he's so good at linking up and creating those chances for his teammates. You still happy to have him? Bit frustrated, or? Again,
he fits in the category of one of those players that looks great on paper, and I don't see him as a fire, but it would be nice if he started to return more points. Yeah. And I think if someone is in a situation where they're looking to bring in a striker, at 6.5 mil, with the games that they have, the fixtures that they have coming up now, Burnley, Norwich, Newcastle, Everton, Spurs, the first 3 of those look great. They're a team that have been mixing it with everyone this year. You'd expect them to score goals in those next 3 coming, and he still looked good. He's passed the eye test. So yeah, very happy with him. And we've already mentioned that there's an absence of, kind of coveted attacking options at the moment. So yeah, Toney may be your man.
I think he is the man. I think he's the man. I think you should get him in if you are looking for a striker. Again, Vardy not doing it for you. If you already have Antonio, I think he's the next best option.
Just love it. He's a provider.
I love him.
Great. So that's the XG and XA. Bit quicker this week because it's just the top 3. We're going to take a little break now, and then we've got quickfire questions, and we're going to focus on what we see as the most interesting fixtures for game week 10.
Great.
Awesome. All right, see you in a sec. And we're back. So as promised, now, Jack, we have some quick-fire questions sculpted by your mind.
Yeah, let's do just to prefix it. So what we have been doing is having one key topic each week and drilling down into it. But I think it's better to, well, we could go back to that, but I think it's better to. There's enough options to cover now that having a broader array of views from us might be useful. But you know what? If you hate it, tell us, and we'll go back to the single topic. Let us know. We're still a movable feast on this pod. And we love feedback. So email us another FPL podcast at gmail.com. Please do drop us an email or leave a comment if you're on YouTube. Thanks a lot. And a like. Also like it. Right, good. Josh, quickfire question number 1. Are Havertz cappers unlucky, or were they just wrong for not sticking with Salah?
This is a yes and no, isn't it? Because the yes part of it is, if you picked Havertz, you predicted that Chelsea would spank Norwich. You were right, but you just picked the wrong guy. And if you were going to say, oh, I think Chelsea are going to spank Norwich, who's going to score the most? It's going to be their striker, their number 9 or false number 9 or whatever you want to call it. You would assume that to be right. So I think they are a bit unlucky. And Salah, despite being so good and almost a set and forget captain, as a Liverpool fan, I did not expect to see the drubbing that Liverpool gave them.
Yeah, so I think they're really unlucky. Really, really, really unlucky for the reasons you've said. I mean, if you told me it was going to be 7-0 to Chelsea, I'd have taken a hit to get Havertz in, no question, and captained him, because I'd have been sure he'd get at least 2 there. And yeah, even though I captained Salah, no one expected a hat-trick and assist. Insane. So yes, if you're a Havertz captainer, it's variance, luck, whatever you want to call it, you are unlucky. So don't beat yourself up. And go again next week. Good. Number 2, Josh. If you have to have 3 premiums, so premiums over, we'll say over 10 million players, you have to have 3 of them. Who are the 3 you would have?
Salah, obviously first. Next, because of the drop-off of everyone, I'm actually probably going to go Son. Looking at his returns, this was something that kind of flew under the radar in my eyes. You've kind of been, shouting his praises, but I looked at his returns. I mean, before this game week noted, but he's been a consistent returner, and he is. The game I watched, the Spurs game, he looks the biggest threat, more than Kane, I'd say, in that game especially. But he's just a consistent performer. So for that reason, I'd put him in next. And then the third is tricky. I mean, if I can cheat and say he's not 10 mil, but he's a premium defender, I'd say Trent.
He's definitely a premium. Sorry, I should have said that. Yeah. Good answers. Son's interesting. Kind of wish I'd gone with him over Kane now. But yeah, I mean, the other premiums are just not looking good. Ronaldo's a definite avoid. Lukaku obviously injured and wasn't doing it anyway. I've got Mane, but now he's benchable. Yeah.
So is Mane in your 3? Who are your 3?
No, well, I'm just thinking now. I can't really argue with yours. I wouldn't even pick 3 now. Really, I don't think I really want Son, even really, compared to some of the others. But if I had to pick 3, I think you're right. If Vardy's fit and ready to go, I might have Vardy over Son. But yeah, it's tough. It's not all about premiums nowadays, is it? It's really not. Good. Thank you, Josh. Quickfire question number 3. Simply put, Salah captaincy forever? ?
Can we say forever? I mean, we've seen how much it's changed this season alone within a few game weeks. Started off, you needed Bruno. Then you needed Lukaku and Ronaldo. Now you don't need them. So I think right now, yes.
Okay, Salah here's captaincy. A better question. Maybe. Right now, Josh, you can either never captain Salah again all year, or you have to captain him every game all season. Forget AFCON, apart from the time he's at AFCON. Which one would you take?
The latter.
Yeah.
He's going to be captaining him probably more than 3/4 of the time.
Yeah, so. Definitely. And I don't think that applies to any other player. I don't think I'd take that choice for a Kane or whoever, but I would take it for Salah.
King?
So there
you go. Want King? Baghdadi?
Ledley King. I nearly said that.
Ledley.
Go on, Ledley.
Do you ever bang a hattie?
Joshua King. Just on that, I do love when a player scores against a club that kind of snubbed them.
Yeah.
It's great, and you rarely see a hat trick happen. Like a hat trick from a snub player is golden, isn't it? It's really good. But they said he's got 50 Premier League goals. I was surprised at that.
Yeah,
But,
if you could bottle, the emotions that he had there, it's just pure joy. Every time he scored, he's so happy.
Just that revenge. People say revenge is like unhealthy and bad for you and stuff, but I think it's great.
It made him happy.
Circumstances. It's a lovely feeling. Good. Okay, quick fire number 4. It's kind of 2 questions in one. Mount and Foden, in or are they traps?
Very good question. So we've kind of mentioned that Mount. You're welcome. We've mentioned that Mount has been interesting throughout, and obviously his returns against Norwich incredible. But it was Norwich, so they're not going to have these opportunities every game week. In preparation for this question, I had a little look. Question back to you. Can you guess the last time he played 90 minutes? He played 90 minutes against Norwich. Can you guess the last time?
I'm going to guess not. I'm going to guess never, not this season.
He's done it 3 times only. The third game week, game week 1 and game week 1 and game week 3, he played.
I knew it wasn't many. I'll say that. I knew. I'm surprised he's done all 3. Yeah, because I know like you said, we earmarked him as a good. He was nearly a game week 1 pick for me, Mount. I think he was good value. Last season he looked good, and yeah, this week he showed it.
Yeah, so I guess what I'm saying is, like, do you want someone who's got that much risk of minutes? You could say that he was given 90 minutes because it was against Norwich, a team that maybe Tuchel felt that he could get away with.
Does he not rate him though? Do you think? Surely he rates.
I think he definitely does, but the minutes show. I was surprised to see that, but the minutes show. If it wasn't Mount and it was just X player, and you saw that, you wouldn't pick them, would you? They haven't played 90 minutes since game week 3.
Right,
you wouldn't spend 7.5 mil on an asset who hasn't played 90 minutes since game week. He's only played one, game of 90 minutes since game week 3.
Yeah. No. Yeah. When you put it that way, it's a very good point, Joshua. Does the same apply for Foden? He was injured, wasn't he, at the start? Now he's not. Is Torres being injured helping him, or what do you reckon about Foden?
Well, he's played 3 consecutive 90 minutes on the bounce, but we know that with Pep Roulette, that could mean nothing in 2 game weeks.
So many of them have done it, haven't they? We've seen this. So Torres did it. Grealish has done it. Now he's struggling for minutes. Mahrez was doing it. Yeah, he's really popular at the moment, isn't he? As a pick, Foden. People are in the FPL sphere are bigging him up, but I just don't want that pain every time I click on the Man City team sheet.
No, I mean, I've got 2 City players and it is nervy already.
Even the defenders, yeah.
Yeah, when Diaz gets dropped, you're thinking, God, anyone could be dropped. So I think despite Foden being versatile, being able to play in lots of different positions, if you go with him, you cannot be annoyed in 2 game weeks time if he gets dropped for like 2 game weeks in a row or whatever, or he plays 45 minutes across 2 game weeks, because that's going to happen at some point.
It is. I mean, yeah, I'm not get Foden at your own risk, but if he starts, you're in the money. I think out of any of those City players, he is fantastic, isn't he? He's a brilliant player. Yeah. Good. The next question, Josh, we're flying through these. This is in the true spirit of Quickfire. I like this. We've kind of done this one, actually. Should we have patience with Brentford assets? It felt like we were on a yes when we were talking about Tony. Expand that out to your Buemos and your Janssens. Should we stay patient for this good run? I think we should.
I agree with you. Yeah. Everything points to the fact that they can mix it with any team. Should have slightly easier fixtures now. So you would expect returns, like points returns from their assets. They're different. The annoying thing is we were talking about a potential double, triple up. I think a double is maybe not a safer bet, but one definitely. Double would be if you're having quite a lot of confidence in them. That annoyingly, Mbuemo is, we're waiting to hear if he's fit because he's picked up a little knock, didn't he? So we're going to have to wait to see if he's going to be around next weekend. But the Tony and Mbuemo mix would have looked nice. But saying that, they look like they could do well in defence as well. So maybe a Pinnock, I think, actually is a doubt as well. So you're looking at like the Janssens or someone else. But a double up, I think, would be great for Brentford.
Yeah. Was it a knock, the reason Bremer went off? It wasn't just you subbed.
It was a knock. The report that I saw was a knock. I didn't actually see it happen. So the report was a knock, and both of them are doubts for the next week. So you have to wait to see for the conferences at the end of the week.
Sure. I very much hope he's all right as an owner, but we shall see. Good. Yeah. Keep hold of your Brentford assets. Right. In a similar vein, and kind of touched upon, but we can delve a little deeper. Ditch all your United assets now. Get rid of them.
Does anyone have them? If you're not a United fan, you probably don't have them.
A lot of Luke Shaw's still, I think. I mean, you should
God.
ditch him. Get rid of him right now.
Yeah. Any defensive assets for them. I mean, even if Ollie goes tomorrow and they bring someone else in, it's not going to fix that defense. So,
no,
and we don't know if they bring in Italian, then, maybe that could blunt their attacking returns a little bit, and he'll try and balance off by keeping clean sheets. But if it is Ollie now still going into the next game week, anyone could score against him, right? So
they really can. They look full of holes. They are full of holes. It's really worrying if you're a United fan, for sure. I mean, Ronaldo, if you've got Ronaldo, he's still high up on the XG stats, isn't he? Despite their woeful performances. Their fixtures just aren't good, though. I think for Ronaldo's price, he's not performing. I think you do need to downgrade. You need to get rid and spend the money elsewhere, I'm afraid.
The interesting point I found is United are in overall XG from the beginning of the season 5th of all teams, and that I'm guessing a lot of that is because of early in the season.
They had such an easy run, didn't they, at the start?
Yeah, and the people that they've played, but that's quite good. You'd say they're in the top 5. They're looking pretty good. Spurs are right down 3rd from bottom. So
yeah, their XGA though, United, is worse than their XG though, isn't it? 15. Yeah. I've got 15 and 14 for XG. So that says it all really about how porous they actually are.
So I think, bottom line is not now. Maybe they'll turn it around because they've got great quality, but not now.
Yeah, fair. Agree. Fully agree on that one. Okay, 3 more to go. Are Leeds an easy fixture now?
I mean, they have had problems with the availability of players. And looking, what we've got now, obviously, Rafinha had to go off injured, and they didn't have Calvin Phillips. They don't have Bamford. I think they haven't done well this season, but 1-1 against Wolves, a Wolves team who is saying, we're getting better and finding form. And actually, Leeds had the better XG, 1.71 XG for Leeds to Wolves' 0.86. So, they played better in that game. They had 18 shots, Leeds, compared to Wolves' 8. I know they're at home, but what we're saying is that was a performance of a team, the better team. Leeds were the better team. So, but I think I'll worry about them at the moment is they are like a bit of a wounded animal, aren't they? They're not the Leeds from last year. So I don't think they are the fodder of the same ilk of Norwich or Newcastle.
No.
But they are not great at the moment.
No, I mean, they're still getting licked on the whole, aren't they? I mean, an XG of 10, XGA of 15.6. I think in a similar vein to Everton missing Dominic Calvert-Lewin, Bamford grew into a player that was so vital for them. And I think they've really missed him. I think they really do struggle without him. And they've got a couple of the key injuries, haven't they, as well? Rafinha's in, out, shaking all about every week, it feels like. Yeah, I think they are a fixture target now at the moment, sadly for them. It may be a short-term thing, but yeah, I mean, load up on your Norwich players. Norwich have got Leeds next. Yeah,
Leeds coming in.
Yeah, Leeds are not looking good. Not looking good. And if your team are playing them, have a look. Penultimate, are Spurs assets worth getting in for their easy run? So their easy run you could argue, doesn't actually start for another couple of weeks. They've got Man U and Everton next. Then it's Leeds, Burnley, Brentford, Norwich. And Leeds we've just established as an easy fixture, so I've counted them in there. Would you be tempted, Josh? You've mentioned Son as one of the premiums that you quite like the look of. Will you be bringing him in, Son, for this?
The good news is we've got 2 more game weeks to think about it. So I think, the underlying stats of the team in general aren't reassuring when you think about, are they going to batter teams? Because they're in the bottom 3 for XG total. So, and I think the first month, where they did really well, we were saying that actually the underlying stats don't support the results that they're getting and the goals that they're scoring. So yeah, we don't have confidence. We shouldn't have confidence in the stats that they're going to translate that into goals against anyone at the moment, even maybe the weaker teams. But Son as an asset and Kane as an asset in themselves, you can't really turn away from them because they can turn it on, can't they? So let's see how they do against United and Everton. If they seem to be building up ahead of steam, ahead of that nice 4 fixtures that you mentioned afterwards, and we're still in a position where no one is really, we can't even pick 3 premiums, then by default they may become that 3rd premium spot that we want to have.
Yes, indeed.
You've got Kane, so you're thinking of holding him then until that run?
Really torn on that. Really torn now. I really regret bringing him in. It was such a vanity move. It's just because I want Tony. I want Tony for ideally the next game. So yeah, it depends on it. It just depends. It's a butterfly effect thing. If Rafinha's injured, maybe I drop him to a Smith Rowe and change Dennis to Tony and keep Kane and go with the 3 up top. Or should I just get rid of Kane now, bring it in? I don't know. Spurs United's quite a hard one to call, I think. United might bounce back, or will Spurs do a Liverpool and take advantage of that defence? Very difficult. I mean, it's definitely, I'm mulling it over this week. But yeah, I wish that easy run started now, really. I think I've gone too early on Kane. But I think Son and Kane are good to get in for the easy run. I'd say their defenders aren't. I'd still avoid. I say that as a regular owner. Avoid them if you can, because they're leaky. As long as Eric Dyer's in that back 4, I think they're leaky, personally. Yeah. And good. Okay, Josh, the final quick fire. Are you ready?
Yes.
You've done very well, I think, so far. Should we load our bench with players that we would like to play, would like to start? So I've asked this because in the last few weeks, it feels like there's been a lot of unexpected benchings, a lot of last minute missing out, a lot of injuries. So the traditional mode is obviously load your bench up with 4.5 players that you think will get 2 points a week. In the emergency that they come on, they'll tick over. The Sissoko's 4.5 tick over. Should we now, is there merit in actually spreading the funds a bit more to your bench, especially as we're saying premiums aren't really in vogue at the moment? Will that give you license to spread those funds and actually get some better assets on the bench?
I'm still kind of wanting to keep to the done philosophy in trying to keep the money on the pitch, if you know what I mean, rather than the bench. And I think partly because there are cheaper assets, pretty decent enablers that you can get, like the Livramentos, the Duffys, although Duffy was benched, but you know what I'm saying? Like these players that can sit on your bench or come in for good game weeks that you don't have to break the bank, and you're still kind of keeping your money on the pitch. The other reason why I'd be really wary of doing it is if you spread your money away from premiums, say Lukaku does bits or Ronaldo does bits in 3 game weeks, how many moves is it going to take you to get from them to someone else? Like, so you could go for like a Son and you could downgrade him, for example, because he's still worth 10 mil, and reinvest that money in your attack to switch someone up. But if you're trying to level out your money too much, I think it would then take a lot of moves to switch to premiums if they suddenly all became in vogue. You're trying to bring in 2 or 3 of them, or sorry, 3 or 4 of them, for example.
Yeah, it would be a nightmare.
And I don't think it's so much the case that there are like a small number of these mid-price or lower price players that you have to have that to make you really shift away. You're picking players that you think are going to do well for a small on form, basically, aren't you? 3 or 4 game weeks, or even less than that. So yeah, there's no guarantees. So I'd stick to the tried and tested for me. But are you thinking differently? Hence the question.
No. Oh yeah, I was thinking. I'm always thinking differently, Josh. Always challenging. No, I think you made some good points there. I hadn't actually thought about the premium shifting thing. Like just having some premium spots so you can move them around easily is a viable thing. And there's always the other thing of the pain of selection. If you have loaded your bench up with good players that you want to play, that pain of when you pick the wrong ones and the bench hulls and your team fails, the ones you've started blank, it's one of the worst pains in FPL. There's many different types of pain in FPL, but that is one of the worst ones when you've got that. I had that Dennis 12-pointer on my bench this week, and he's not even a player he's a player I consider fodder. So that's painful enough. But when you're in that 50-50 dilemma, it's why I don't like having two goalkeepers that play.
Yeah.
It's just that horrible thing when that one goalie gets points and the one you picked didn't. You feel like you've doubly missed out, even though really you haven't when you look at it logically, because you might have just never have that. You might have had fodder on your bench, but just seeing the points in your team on your bench and not in your 11 just makes the game less fun, I think. So yeah, don't bother doing that.
Nice. Yeah, good point. I hadn't thought about the choice, but you're right. That would be hideous if you had to do that every week.
It's just gross. Yeah, I don't want to be thinking about my team.
No.
Week. Ideally, I just want it to pick itself. Don't want to spend enough time on this bloody game. Right. Thanks, Josh. That was good. Enjoyed that quick fire. Nice broader spectrum. Again, let us know what you think. If you hated it, please tell us. Fixture predictions then. Josh, should we move swiftly onto these?
Yeah, I mean, you asked all those questions to me, so let me pitch this section to you. We pick 4 that we think are most interesting from an FPL asset perspective. And the first one we've picked is Leicester Arsenal. Leicester at home. Obviously, there's quite a few people talking about Leicester assets. We mentioned Tielemans, Vardy if he's fit, and quite a few people have Arsenal assets kicking about as well. What do you think is going to be the result here? And who would you start, not start? Who would you want to have?
This is quite a tough one to call as a prediction, I would say, first of all, because, as I said, I haven't been that convinced with Leicester as a team yet this season. I think they're getting better and they've had some good results the last couple of weeks, but there's still something missing there with them, I think defensively especially. And, Schmeichel played a blinder against Brentford by all accounts, so they were quite lucky to get that one, I think. Arsenal are again on the up, good win against Villa, but I would say watching that Villa game, it was mainly Villa being bad really in that first half that let them do what they did. I mean, Villa played the 3 at the back. Smith Rowe and Saka had all the space behind the wing backs to flex their talent, and the game was put to bed before half time. Villa changed it up at half time, and second half finished 1-1. And actually, Villa had a higher XG in that second half. So I don't think that fixture is as cut and dry as I don't think either team's results tell the full story about how these teams are getting on. So I would fancy both teams to score in this, so I wouldn't feel great having defenders starting from both of these. So your Ben Whites and your Ramsdales, I think, are going to get tested by Leicester. But equally, I think Schmeichel will. So like a high scoring, I'd feel good about attacking assets actually for both teams here, which is the same, basically a way of saying the same thing as watch out for your defenders. So yeah, that's my take on that. But any result wouldn't surprise me. I don't know who to pick for the win. Probably Leicester with a home advantage maybe edges it. I don't know. What do you think?
I was going to say the same. A draw to a Leicester win maybe is edging it. But there's such similar kind of they've had similar results this year. So of the 9 games so far, both won 4, drawn 2, and lost 3, and they both have comparable XG and XGA, each of them, as in for themselves, but they both have higher XGAs than XGs. So they both are more likely to concede than score. So it's exactly as you said, not a lot of faith in their defenses, but they haven't been exactly amazing in their attacking returns either. And maybe it's just because they actually have some quite good attacking talent that they've been able to get results. So you're right. I mean, it's not one for the defenses, and I am a little bit worried with Ramsdale. But if Vardy's not fit, then I think that does blunt Leicester a little bit.
It does. I do rate this Daka. I think he's got something about him.
And 4 in midweek, didn't he?
Yeah, but Vardy's Vardy, and Vardy's another level. So yeah, interesting one. Yeah, interesting one. Hard to call.
Next, second one, easier maybe to call. Don't know. It depends which way you're looking at it.
Go on.
Spurs at home to United.
Yeah, very interesting. We've mentioned what we think about Spurs and United assets, haven't we? I mean, offload your United ones and maybe be wary of Spurs. But again, really, when now United are in this crisis mode, it's it can go either way. Of do they pull out a result, performance, or do they capitulate again? And Spurs are just so inconsistent, aren't they? They've had a few like false dawns, I feel like, this season where, oh yeah, it's going well for Nuno. Yeah, they're winning games again, and then they'll have a result like they did against West Ham. So I think it's two teams that should be doing better that aren't, and as FPL assets at the moment are not worth it, either one. So again, predicting it is very, very difficult. Very difficult. It's very similar to the Leicester Arsenal, two similar stories for these teams this season. And I'd probably go the home win just about with the Tottenham at home, probably slightly better form than United have at the moment. But yeah, that's me. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm still amazed at Spurs' incredibly low XG over the 9 games so far. But I think you're right. We're looking at a United almost capitulation at this point in the season after that Liverpool game. But they're like a cornered, dangerous animal, aren't they? Like they'll take the hits, but at one point in the next few game weeks, be it with Ollie at the wheel or someone else, they will strike back. With that much talent, they will at some point.
They'll score goals, won't they?
Yeah, they'll perform.
Goals.
They'll come together.
Up against elite defenses and elite teams like Liverpool, they struggle to score. But any bar just less than that, they've got the players to rip defenses apart still, you're right. And Spurs defense is pretty bad. So yeah, thinking about it and hearing you talk about it, I think United will edge this one.
But the form, I mean, it's potential, isn't it? The form is not there for United at the moment. And we're saying that result will come potentially, but that could come, in the 5 game weeks coming up, or even beyond that. The bottom line is their form is shocking at the moment.
It is. Sorry, United fans. It is.
Sorry, United fans. Next one. So a team whose form you'd say is the opposite after the last game week. Liverpool at home to Brighton. A very good Brighton from this season, I should say. So do you trust Salah again against that Brighton defence? Are you going to play your Brighton defenders and goalkeeper like you have? What are you thinking?
Do I captain Salah? Let me think about that for 0 seconds. Yes, definitely captain Salah in this one. He could do it against City. He could do it against United. He could definitely do it against Brighton, who got pummeled by City, really. I mean, as I said, Sanchez, my man of the match in my team this week, conceding 4 goals. He actually had do you know what I heard a fact about from the guys on the FPL Wire pod? So Sanchez actually had the highest pass completion of any goalkeeper since they started recording the stats.
Jeez.
So he distributed and completed more passes than any other goalie ever in any game. So I thought that was interesting. But that shows how often he had the ball, I think, and how many goal kicks and how many times he held the ball. So yeah, I think, and Liverpool are arguably a better attack than City. I think they're going to pummel them. It'll be a similar story for Brighton this week, backs to the wall. They've got some very, very good defenders, but they're not an elite team. And I think it's going to be another pummeling by Liverpool. Captain Salah.
Yeah, wow. Captain again, put the armband on him. I mean, obviously, I'm not the most confident Liverpool fan, but at the moment, their form is incredible. The front 4, as you corrected me earlier in our discussions pre-pod, the front 4, if you include Jota, Mane, Bobby, and Salah, are just all in very good form. And I think Brighton, unfortunately, rely upon controlling the game from the back with a good defense, because their attack is just not maybe as good top end kind of quality. And I think they're just going to get pushed back. So yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I think they will. I mean, it would be shock of such as Liverpool's form now that their next loss will be, unless it's against City, will be shock of the season, I think.
Yeah, And the other point you said as well is they've got the highest XG, Liverpool, despite playing City, Chelsea, and United. So it's against teams within the utmost respect to Brighton, they have a good defense, but Salah did it against City, so he can do it against them.
Indeed, there we are. What's our last game, Josh, that we've highlighted?
4th and final, some interesting FPL assets on show. Wolves at home to Everton. Do you want to play your Wolves defenders? Do you want to play your Everton attackers? Hit me.
Yeah, we've picked these three, apart from Liverpool, Brighton, these 3 games have three matchups between they're almost like pairs this season. Leicester, Arsenal, Spurs United, and Wolves Everton are very similar sets of teams, aren't they? In terms of the season they've had so far, quite up and down. Yeah, Wolves, they're threatening to become great again. Wolves, I feel like, and they're getting there and getting better. And Everton looked great and are maybe on the downward trajectory, I think. So I think it's a terrible result for Everton against Watford. I mean, awful capitulation by them. But yeah, I'd be feeling all right about Wolves defenders actually here, as that's your Semedos and your Codys and your Saces. Yeah, Richarlison being back, it's tricky. Again, a tricky one. Both teams could score. I'm sort of not really saying anything committal here, Josh, because I don't know the answer. Really, I'd play all your assets and sort of don't expect the world, but don't expect, maybe be a bit disappointed if nothing happens. I don't know. What do you think? I'm lost on this one.
I know what you mean. If Everton had beaten Watford convincingly, I think with more confidence we could say that over the last few game weeks they're building form, continuing to build form under Benitez. But that was a real shock, and you can't just ignore that. And you can't say that they can fix that in one game week. That will affect the players' mentality, won't it? So yeah, they've lost a bit of momentum, and Wolves kind of just, with their draw last week, it was a draw, wasn't it? Just kind of ticking along. So at home, you'd say that Wolves are probably going to stifle a draw to a win. For me, I think Everton they'll be more in the mentality of trying to consolidate rather than bounce back from that result against Watford, I think. We're going to see a Benitez who's like, I want a clean sheet this week, basically, knowing Benitez, the tactical astuteness that he's got. So I wouldn't be surprised if Everton play a controlled away, kind of performance, have a controlled away performance, which would maybe mean a 0-0.
Yeah, a low scorer, potentially, yeah. Much better analysis than me, Josh, on that. Well done. Yeah,
well, it could be completely wrong, but
they're quite bored. I'm not looking forward to watching that game, I just think it's quite a boring. What is that, a Monday nighter? Is it Sunday maybe? But yeah, to me, I don't think I'll be tuning in unless I'm not doing anything. So that's my view there.
Yeah, well, we predict it not to be exciting. So there we go.
Yeah, there it is.
That's all the fixture predictions. So how about a little quick break and we'll come back for our plans and hear how the Algo teams did.
Good.
Lovely. See you in a sec. And we are back again. So final section, Jack, we're going to start with our plans. So transfers, what we're thinking in terms of transfers and captaincy. Obviously, a lot can happen in the week. Mm-hmm. But can I kick it to you first? What are you thinking in terms of your transfers and captaincy?
Yeah, well, I've kind of sprinkled this pod with my musings as we've touched on various players, the players that I have. And yes, following my regrettable -4 last week, bringing in Kane and Mane, I'm now looking at them thinking, not nice, not very good. But I've got Rafinha and I've got Mbeumo, both of whom came off injured this week. Annoyingly, both with excellent fixtures with Norwich and Burnley, respectively, for each of them. So it's very much a wait and see. And I'm going to have to prepare some sort of what if scenarios. If he's injured, if he's not injured, what are the moves I will make? But as I've said, I want Tony in for this run of fixtures now. And that will either be a Kane move down to him or a Dennis up to him. But meaning I'd have to take a hit on a Rafinha, perhaps to a Smith Rowe or somebody to bring that in. So, yeah, I mean, I've backed myself into an entanglement here, which I'm annoyed at myself about, really. So, and then the other thing, I'm just like, well, I've got that thing of, well, that -4 was a disaster, Jack. You've only caused yourself more problems. Just learn from that and let it roll this week. So you've got the 2 next week. You can make that Tony move, not for a hit if you want. Keep Kane. Yeah, so that's where I am. I'll probably, I don't know. If Rafinha's injured, I'm going to have to do something. Something's going to have to happen there. So it might just be a straight swap to Smith Rowe, but it'll just be such a shame. It's horrible, isn't it, when you have a player, you stick with them, they kind of frustrate you a bit, but then you see they've got that good fixture in a couple of weeks, so you keep them, and then they get bloody injured for that fixture. So part and
That's
parcel of the
FPL,
game.
folks.
That's FPL. That is FPL. What would you do in my shoes?
I mean, yeah, you've got to wait for the conferences at the end of the week. I mean, anyone against Norwich, if Rafinha looks like he could potentially start and you've got cover on the bench, you have to keep him, I think, in my mind. I did the same thing with Alonso last week in the potential that he would
unlucky.
play.
I thought he was going to play.
I thought
in
he
the
would,
Norwich
I
game.
mean, I think that does, definitely slam the nail in the coffin for Alonso.
Yeah, he's gone.
He's going to get one in, I don't know, like 8 or 10 games, isn't he? I think maybe, or if Chilwell still stays fit, he's definitely nailed. So, but I think with Rafinha, it's different because he is like the talisman. So if he's even close to being fit, I think they'll roll him out.
Yeah, what has happened to him? What was the injury?
I didn't see it myself, and the report is that it's just going to be monitored. So it says knock 75% chance of playing, but
they mean nothing, do they? Those they
nothing.
don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
they
nothing.
don't know.
So we just got to wait for the conferences, and Bielsa hopefully can give us something, or if we get, the old social media from Leeds of him in training quite early in the week, then that may look good.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't. It's too early to say now, isn't it? Really?
Sure, it is. It is. Why do we even do this section? Too early to say. Too early to say. Say it for everything. But despite it being too early to say, Josh, what are your moves?
Well, I've got
still got loads in the bank. You've got that money in the bank, Josh. Do you want to spend it?
Well, the Lukaku thing, I just banked more money this week from going from Lukaku to Vardy, but just saving it up. But yeah, I've got a kind of line of fires forming throughout. It's like I'm Gondor lighting the beacon just on every little spot line through the team.
Yeah, and I can see that warning. I can see the warning.
Send help.
Communicated it. The help is here, Josh.
Send the riders, send the Roja in, please. But yeah, so I've got Alonso in defense. We need to have a look at longer term. But again, when you compare that to the yellow flags of Rafinha and Vardy, and Duffy being benched for one game, they changed system, may play, but Duffy's a bench spot at the moment, so that's not a problem. Alonso, Rafinha, Vardy.
Sorry, Josh. Do we know why Duffy didn't play?
I think it was a system change. So he was on the bench. They changed the system. That's worrying. So, and unfortunately now with Lamptey back, who did look good again until he's injured.
He's a minute away from a hamstring injury at all times, isn't he? Exactly. But he is still good.
But apparently it means that Veltman, has been brought in as extra defensive competition. So I think there's more competition for Duffy's spot now, which is annoying. And yeah, so there's doubts around that. But if they play the same system, you thought with his form they'd bring him back in. But watch this space. But yeah, back from same thing as you. Really need to hear if Rafinha is going to be red flagged, or we get confirmation that he's not going to be starting. And the same for Vardy, really, because I'd have to fix them before looking at Alonso. So Chelsea away to Newcastle, I could play the same strategy that I did last week. Hope that Tuchel's going to rotate Chilwell.
Just put him in again.
Just
put Alonso in again.
Come on,
just keep going with it.
Come on, Tuchel. Double down.
I mean, who is your? I mean, Tony. I've obviously said he's number one on my watch list, my want list, number one on my Christmas list. Who is your player that you don't have that you feel the burning desire to get? Is it Trent?
It's Trent. So I could go from Alonso to Trent, but that's casting a blind eye to Rafinha and Vardy.
Yeah, so you just got to wait and see on those. If they both turn out to be okay, is that the move you'd make?
Yeah, that's the one I want long term.
Yeah,
fair. Or potentially, well, no, sorry, that is the move I want. I would like to have Rudiger as well, but to have a lot of defensive coverage. But I think at the moment, Alonso to Trent is the best choice.
Agreed. I'd agree with that, man. Get him in. He's great to have. 10 points again this week. He's a dream.
Oh, it looks so consistent returns. But we've captaincy. There's no point. We've both said already, Salah, haven't we? So.
Oh yeah, Salah for sure. Do you ever bother with a vice captain? Do you ever worry about it?
I mean, I do, but Salah's kind of going to start, don't you? So it's not. You try and pick who you think is going to be the next best, but I think we know we've got so much confidence in Salah starting. it's rarely called upon, isn't it? But this week, I don't know, vice wise, it's going to be tricky. Tony maybe for me, or
yeah.
Antonio. Sorry, Jack, against Villa.
Yeah, don't blame you. Don't blame you. We could be in for another beating. Hopefully, yeah, we don't play that three at the back again. But if we do, I think Antonio could have some fun.
Yeah. So that's this week's our plans, what we'd like to do, transfer plans and captaincy. Final little section, Jack. How did our Algo teams get on? How did the boys do?
Oh, yes. Section everyone's been waiting for, the algorithm teams. Little reminder, Josh and I run two other teams for two friends of ours, and we apply algorithms to them. So one of them being the XG11, so a team purely based on XG. The other one being the Differential United, so a team that's managed and can only bring in players that are under 5% owned. Let's see how they're getting on. So far, the XG11 has been having an okay season. It had a brilliant start, but has been falling down the ranks a little bit ever since. And this week didn't do so well. So it ended on 53 points for the XG11. No transfers were made. So we rolled a transfer for the XG boys, but really only had two standout performers in Salah and Antonio, and captained the wrong one. So captained Antonio instead of Salah for 14 points and 24 respectively. We had blanks from Jamie Vardy, Chris Wood, Mane, Norgard, Gallagher, Sace, Manquillo, Tarkowski, Raya in goal. It's just not looking good, Josh, for the XG11. But we've got those two transfers in the bank, so we can play a little surgery. Who knows, might take a hit. We'll have to have a look at the XG stats as a whole, see how these performers are doing, because Norgard and co have been in there a while. We've got an injured Torres on the bench who we need to get rid of. So yeah, XG11 needs some surgery.
Revamp needed.
That's it. Sits at 2.9 mil at the moment, XG11. So slipping down the ranks. There we are. But if we thought that was bad, Josh.
Oh dear.
If you thought the XG11 was bad, the last couple of weeks have been brilliant for the differential 11. They've rocketed up the ranks. They were low, very low down for quite a while. But sadly, this week, they've plummeted back down to earth again with a meager 31 points with a game week rank of 7.7 mil. Absolutely appalling week. And it wasn't because their team's in shambles in terms of there's no one playing. Everyone got 90 minutes except Mane. So yeah, Meslier in goal is not going well. Veltman with a 0-pointer. Brighton, bring back Duffy. Semedo, 2 points. That Wolves conceding the last minute hurt a lot of managers. Lowton, the second high scorer of the week with 4 points. Well done, Lowton. Mane, 1-pointer. Fornals and Bowen, those lovely two West Ham differentials, 3 points each. The transfer, we actually made two transfers in this week. So we got rid of Dele Alli and Decore. A good move because neither of them played. We brought in enabler Douglas Luiz, who came to the bench, and Kevin De Bruyne, who we captained, who was 3% owned. 1 point from Kev, came on for 30 minutes. Thanks a lot. So not so good. And yeah, Jimenez and Max at the top. Jimenez and Aubameyang actually did quite well, 6 and 5 points each. Aubameyang ticking over nicely. Again, we didn't mention him in our sort of premium chats. He's starting to pick up a bit of steam, Aubameyang. Do you reckon?
Yeah, it just seems like you want a premium player to come from a premium team, don't you? Or someone who's close to being that. And Arsenal have got a bit of work to do, don't they, I guess?
But they do. They're on the up, aren't they? But yeah.
But we know from years of old, you look at the scrolls in FPL past, he's the man.
We know what he can do. Yeah, we know what's in his locker, and I think he's looking a bit more galvanized lately. But we'll see. So that's the algorithm teams. A bad week all round for the Algo boys, but let's hope they can use their computer brains to bounce back next week, get those microchips whirring, and see how they do next week.
And that's it. So yeah, I guess that's everything for Game Week 10. If you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe. That'd be much appreciated. And comment. We'll reply. We will reply. So
please do.
Fire over your comments.
Yeah. As I say, drop us an email, another FPL podcast at gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. Thank you very much. That's it. I'm done.
See you next week. All right. Cheers, Jack.
Cheers, Joshua. Bye bye.
Bye.